Alright guys, just quickly, please make sure that you subscribe, click the notification bell, comment something down here just to have some good feedback, and like the video.
Hey guys, Ellis here, coming at you with a new scout report video. Today's episode will be with Nicolo Barella, and yeah, I'm just jump straight into it. Okay, so Barella's background: he currently plays for Cagliari in Syria. He's 21 years old. He's a central midfielder / cam. He come up through the Cagliari Youth Academy, and today I'll be comparing him with Jorginho. Okay, so Barella this season has made 14 league appearances. In his appearances, he has scored 1 goal in the league. When compared this with Jorginho's stats for this season, he's also scored 1 goal this year. That was a penalty. And yeah, I mean, Barella, I think 1 goal and a few assists this season isn't as high as I would like from a central midfielder, especially a midfielder that is looking to get forward more. But you've got to bear in mind, with these stats, he's currently playing in a Cagliari side that are not particularly good at the moment. They're not very high up in the league. They're not performing well, and Barella's kind of been the shining light in their seasons, in the past 2 seasons. Barella's averaging 1.5 dribbles per game, with 0.9 of those being successful. When compare this with Jorginho, who's averaging 0.5 dribbles per game, with 0.1 being successful. What this kind of tells me, and what I have noticed in the game, in the sort of gameplay footage I've watched of Barella, is Barella's very progressive. When he receives the ball in deep areas, he dribbles forward rather than passing forward. So obviously, I'm comparing him with Jorginho. Jorginho is a player you'd associate with sort of deep line playmaker. He sits back and he passes the ball forward rather than taking it forward himself. Whereas Barella's more of an advanced playmaker. When he does receive the ball in those deep areas, he moves the ball forward himself by dribbling or by passing. He has perfectly fine passing capabilities. He's very good at long pass. He's very good at short passing as well. So yeah, his dribble numbers are a little bit low still. I mean, you'd want him closer to 2, maybe even 3 for a progressive midfielder. It's not really what he is though. He's more of a creator rather than a progressor up the pitch. Barella's averaging 1.1 key passes per game, compared with Jorginho's 0.7 key passes per game. And this is due to the fact that Barella does play slightly more advanced than Jorginho. Jorginho's main job is to sit back, but Jorginho is probably the best creator in terms of a deep line playmaker. So 0.7 key passes is okay. Obviously, a key pass, when I say that, I mean a chance, a pass that is leading to a chance. For example, putting a player through one-on-one with a goalkeeper, that is a key pass. That is providing a goal scoring opportunity for a teammate. So 1 key pass per game is actually quite good. It isn't as high as other sort of elite level central midfielders like Naby Keita or James Rodriguez, but one key pass per game is quite good, especially if you are in a side with a good striker. I mean, if you're putting a player through every game at least once, you know, there's probably a 50-50 chance of that player scoring. So yeah, 1.1 key pass is good. Obviously, as I always say with these stats, this player is only 21 years old, so you can see in 5 years most of these stats will be up by at least a whole number. So rather than 1.1 key passes, for example, it'd be 2.1 key passes. Just as a player ages, they get more experience, they eventually gradually become better players. But now, when it comes to Barella's defensive contributions, it's actually very impressive. He's averaging 4.4 tackles and interceptions per game, compared to Jorginho's 2.5 tackles and interceptions per game. You can put this high number of tackles and interceptions, you can put it down due to the fact he's playing in a Cagliari side that are not performing very well this season. But I mean, 4.4 in a tackles and interceptions in a progressive midfielder is pretty much where you'd want him. It's in the ballpark of pretty elite numbers. I mean, considering that Barella is a very creative midfielder, you often see, when you watch him, he's sort of occupying his areas very high up the pitch, and he's still getting these tackles and interceptions in, which I actually think is quite a good, it's quite an interesting sort of statistic and way to look at the way he plays. He presses very high up the pitch and he wins the ball in the opposition's third, which is extremely valuable for a midfielder in the modern day as well. you look at these sort of high press teams like Sevilla, like Klopp's Liverpool, like just lots. You know what I mean, like these sort of really high pressing teams. And Barella is one of these midfielders like a Naby Keita, like a Gini Wijnaldum, that is going to press the ball very high up the pitch and win the ball and then create chances. When you mix sort of Barella's defensive capabilities high up the pitch with his key passes and his passes per game, you actually get a really dangerous player that is capable of, getting these assists similar to numbers like De Bruyne and David Silva, where he's just getting the ball in these good areas and playing good passes. He could be a very good cam in the future. Actually, as I'm judging these stats right now, I am thinking he could be a very good central attacking midfielder. This season he's averaging 50 passes per game. When compare this with Jorginho, he's averaging 91 passes per game. Obviously, Jorginho is playing Sarri ball. He is playing for Chelsea, and Jorginho is very much the fulcrum of that side. He is making all the play around him. Every ball, every play goes through Jorginho. That's why he has such obscene pass numbers. 91 passes per game is probably one of the highest in the world currently. In terms of the average amount of passes per game, that is absolutely obscene. Although with Barella, 50 passes per game isn't too bad actually, especially in a Cagliari side that aren't going to have as much possession as Chelsea. They probably have, I would say, about 45% average. I think, having looked at it previously, I think it's what it was, 45%. When compared to Chelsea, who obviously have about 65% to 70%. That's why his pass numbers are almost half of Jorginho's, but 50 passes per game in a side that aren't playing particularly well is actually a really good sign. And he has this sort of Italian knack for passing. From what I can tell, he's a very good passer of the ball. Long passes, short passes, the inside of his foot, the laces, the outside of his boot. He's a very accomplished passer of the ball already, and I can see if he was in a possession-based side or a press-based side that were an elite club, he probably would be averaging about 70 passes per game, which is elite numbers for a central midfielder. So I think he's actually currently a very good player. Of these passes, so 50 passes per game, he's averaging an 83% completion rate. When compare this with Jorginho, who obviously is having an obscene season and is averaging 91% completion rate, which is completely abnormal. That's inhuman sort of completion rate for passes. 91 passes per game and 91 completion rate is obscene. Whereas 83% is more sort of the average you'd see. Obviously, not really too much you can dig into that. He's averaging a high amount of passes per game for a central midfielder and a poor team, so 83% kind of makes sense. So he's averaging probably about 40-45% of those passes being completed, which in a side that aren't performing particularly well is quite valuable. Barella's also averaging 2.8 long balls per game compared with Jorginho, who's averaging 2.1 long balls per game. This stat really interests me actually, because Jorginho has always been one of these players that has been considered as an elite sort of long ball passer, especially from the deep midfield position. Barella's actually almost averaging 3 long balls per game, which is what you see from a centre back. And when you consider that Barella plays quite far forward, it's actually quite. Barella's an interesting player in that he has a skill set that not many central midfielders have currently, where he's kind of performing. He's got the statistics of a defensive midfielder in a sort of more attacking midfield position. It's really quite odd to sort of look when it comes to the analysis point of view that he's getting these really high tackle and interception numbers. He's averaging high amount of long balls and he's averaging okay key pass. It's really kind of strange to look at. If I'm honest, like he is an attacking midfielder and he's averaging these sort of numbers that you can't see in a CDM. I mean, 3 long balls per game is almost what you'd see from a good centre back. So it's actually really promising. I actually quite like this guy. Obviously, Jorginho, as I said, is averaging 2.1 long balls per game, and Jorginho is a player that you associate with this insane sort of passing ability. So 2.8 long balls per game shows how good Barella has been this season. Okay, so Barella, in my opinion, I think he has got very good potential. I think already he's a very good central midfielder. I think a move for him in January or in the summer would actually really benefit him. I think as much as I think he's homegrown in Cagliari, I think him moving would do him a lot of good at this stage in his career. I think he's good enough to play for these higher sides in his divisions, and I think that it'd do him a lot of good. He would develop very nicely in a bigger club, and he's been linked with bigger clubs already. I mean, he's been linked with Juventus and Liverpool at current, very heavily with Liverpool actually. I think it was a £35 million move that was linked with Liverpool. And as a Liverpool fan, I actually think this would be a very good move. I think he's a cheap alternative to Nabil Fekir. Maybe not with a goal scoring, but when it comes to the creativeness, I actually think it'd be a very good move. And Liverpool do not need a goal scoring central midfielder, just obviously because their front three is so dangerous. And Naby Keita will chip in with goals here and there as well. So I think Barella would be a very good signing for Liverpool, just in terms of obviously Liverpool really press from the front. Barella has his tackle and interception numbers from forward positions, and he has good key passes. He could be really exciting in a Jurgen Klopp team. It's just whether he could adapt to the gegenpress style of play. Okay guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, please comment, and please subscribe. If you do subscribe, make sure you click the notification bell so you know when I'm uploading. And yeah, thanks for watching guys. Bye.